Yes.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy, a production of flagandbanner.com. Through storytelling and conversational interviews, this weekly radio show offers listeners first-hand insight in starting and running a business, the ups and downs of risk-taking, and the commonalities of successful people. Connect with Kerry through her candid, often funny, and informative weekly blog, where you'll read and comment on life as wife, mother, daughter, and entrepreneur. And now it's time for Kerry McCoy to get all up in your business.
Kerry McCoy, and it's time for me to get all up in your business. But before I do, I want to give a shout out to RJ Martino from iProv, who subbed for me last week. Thank you, RJ. And to his guest, Roland Delgado, an American mixed martial artist. He's a bad guy, and he has a gym called the West Side MMA, and I wanted to have him on and talk to him, and RJ beat me to it.
He scooped you.
He scooped me. Thank you, RJ Martino and Rolanda, for coming on last week. I heard it was a great show. So for the next hour, my guests and I will be having a conversation of curiosity and storytelling. We will be answering questions via phone and email and giving advice to small business owners and to people who dream of owning a small business. You may be asking yourself, what makes this lady qualified to do this? And I'll tell you, experience. So in a minute, you can email or call and ask me anything. My experience is deep and wide, and my advice is free. 40 years ago, with just $400, I started Arkansas Flag and Banner. Since then, it's morphed into simply flagandbanner.com, with sales nearing $4 million. That's worth saying again. I started Arkansas Flag and Banner with just $400, and today we have sales nearing $4 million. I started by selling flags door to door, then went to telemarketing, next mail order and catalog sales, and today we rely heavily on the internet. In addition, over the last 40 years, I've navigated Flag and Banner through 2 recessions and 2 wars. When people find out I'm that woman who owns Arkansas Flag and Banner, they often say, "Oh, I've heard about you," and begin asking me business advice. I amaze even myself with all the knowledge I've gained. If you call for advice from me or my guests, you will not be given textbook answers or theory, but you will be given candid advice from our real-world experience. So be prepared to hear the truth. It's not always easy to hear. For instance, you may not want to hear this. In business, there are very few overnight successes. Starting and owning a business takes persistence, perseverance, and patience. When I started Arkansas Flag and Banner, I supplemented my income by waitressing, all while I peddled my flags door to door. After 9 years, did you hear me? 9 years of working a part-time job, the company began to grow and solely support me. My first hire was a bookkeeper. My first expansion was to begin the manufacturing of custom flags. The next decade ushered in the Desert Storm War. Flags were scarce, so a screen printing department was hurriedly built to meet consumer demands. In addition to sales and manufacturing, Flag and Banner now has a purchasing department, a shipping department, technology department, marketing, call center, and retail store. And I spearheaded each of these developments. My experience is deep and wide, and my advice is free. I hope you'll take advantage of this unique opportunity by calling or emailing me on today's show. Before we start taking calls, I want to introduce the people at the table. We have Tim Bowen, our technician, who will be taking your calls and pushing the buttons. Say hello, Tim.
Hello, Tim.
My guests today are New Yorkers and multimedia producers, Kim Swink and her husband, Kris Spencer. Though Kim has lived in New York for 20 years, she was reared in Arkansas, and Kris hails from New Zealand. You'll recognize his accent. They're in Little Rock today to promote and celebrate the release of a CD which they produced for the new trio called the Wildflower Revue, starring Amy Garland, Mandy McBride, and Bonnie Montgomery. Kim Swink is a freelance writer, producer, and director. Her clients include HBO, Comedy Central, the Independent Film Channel, and Sesame Workshop. Kris Spencer worked at HBO during its meteoric rise in television. HBO did have a meteoric rise. He served as an executive producer on such notable shows as Are you ready? Sex and the City, The Sopranos, The Wire, Deadwood, Band of Brothers, and yes, The Game of Thrones. Tim likes
I'm
that.
a huge fan. I love Game of Thrones.
In 2013, Kim wrote, produced, and directed her first feature film called Valley Inn right here in Arkansas, and Kris served as her co-director. While producing the film soundtrack of exclusively Arkansas musicians, including Academy Award-winning actress Mary Steenburgen and American Idol winner Kris Allen, Kim met singer-songwriters Amy Garland, Mandy Mcbryde, and Bonnie Montgomery, who in the summer of 2015 formed a trio called it the Wildflower Revue. It is Kris and Kim's media company, This Machine, Inc., that produced the Wildflower Revue's first CD that is being released tomorrow at the Dreamland Ballroom, and we're here today to talk about the business of film production, record production, and share some never-before-heard tracks of the new Wildflower Revue CD. Welcome to the table, entrepreneurs, husband and wife, also Kim Swink and Kris Spencer.
Hi.
Hi, thank you very much. Actually, I should probably correct my HBO credit.
Oh, really?
I was the executive producer of the marketing creative for those shows, so I was the marketer in charge of bringing those shows to the public.
That one little word makes a difference.
I wish I was
not
the
the
executive
shows,
producer of Game of Thrones, believe me.
Executive
But
producer of
everything
the
that
marketing.
promoted the shows.
Well, you ought to be good at promoting this new CD
That's
that you're
right.
about to do.
We'll see.
It's a very impressive resume, both of y'all's.
Thank
His
you.
is especially.
Tell us how you feel about your first work. Isn't this your first work on a CD?
Well, it's kind of my second, because I did the soundtrack of the film Valley Inn, our film that we did together, and a lot of that was producing original music, like the one Mary Steenburgen and Kris Allen co-wrote for us, and several songs that Little Rock musician and writer Jeff Coleman wrote just for the movie. A few others were recorded. How I met Amy, Mandy, and Bonnie. Well, I'd already met them, but how I knew that we should do something with the three of them as a group was they each had an individual song on the soundtrack, and then I asked them together to do a hymn that I needed done, that I wanted like real kind of a country harmony, and it was so great. It turned out so great that I kept pushing Kris to, let's do a record with them, and he kept saying, I'm not a record producer, and I knew that he could because he's amazing at music.
And she said, we are now.
Yeah, when I finished the soundtrack, I walked in, he was in the bathroom brushing his teeth, and when I finished doing everything that would then have actual CDs of the soundtrack mailed to me, it was like from disc makers, I walked in to the bathroom and said, now we're record producers, and now you need to do that record with the girls. So.
Was that the music that you'd finished producing for your film, or the
Yeah.
music? So
yeah.
when you finished
when I finished the soundtrack
for the film,
and was going to have actual records, CDs, then I said, if I can do that and end up with a box of 1,000 CDs, then we're record producers. Like, what else is there to do?
what do you think, Kris? What do you think about being a record producer? And do they still call it a record producer, even though it's CDs?
They still do call it a
Yeah.
record producer, and the first and most interesting thing about it was when I sat in the studio for day one, I thought to myself, all those years of sitting around listening to music and being told that I was a lazy bum are finally going to pay off. Because when you're producing records, what you have is a pair of ears, first and foremost. Anybody can do this if you've got the right ears. So, that was sort of my first thought about getting into the studio with these guys. The parallels between producing music and, say, directing talent on a film set are very similar. You have talent with varying degrees of confidence, and they want somebody to tell them, we can do this is going to be great, this is going to be all right. It's a very similar process to directing on set. So I went from being very uncomfortable about this to actually sort of settling into a groove, because directing on set is something I know how to do.
I never thought about it being so similar, but it's the same talents with the same insecurities, and they really just want you to listen And then do what?
And then try to bring their vision to light. And quite often, this is a vision that they have a hard time articulating. So you're there as sort of a translation vehicle, as well as some other things, but you're there to listen, to interpret, and to sort of put the artist through some sort of realistic filter so that you end up with an object in your hands that'll make sense to people, when you play it to them.
So let's listen to one of the tracks on the CD. Which one do we want to do first? We talked about one.
Yeah, let's listen to Bad News, the first track, because it immediately shows you what gorgeous harmonies the three of them have. The three of them are naturally harmonious. When the three of them start to sing, they lock into a harmony, and you'll hear it right away.
It's amazing. They're just.
So whose song is this originally?
It's a traditional song. It's the public domain, old, like mountain song. So nobody knows who wrote it, but probably the most famous recorded version of it is Johnny Cash did it a long time ago, like decades ago. Well, obviously.
And the interesting thing about it is, with a song like Bad News, it's traditionally sung by a man, and it's great to switch to flip the gender switch and have these women stand up and take on that sort of role of, I'm bad news, you better watch out for me, here I come. And we thought it was a beautiful way to lead the record, because it's a portent or a gateway to everything that's about to be heard.
Did they pick the song, or did y'all suggest it?
I actually found it. I found this really great website. There was a guy, I'll try to keep this brief. There was a guy, I'm pretty sure it was Max Hunter, but I'd have to double check that, who was a traveling salesman in the 50s and 60s, and his territory was kind of the Ozarks, Missouri and Arkansas, and he started meeting all these just incredibly rural people who would be playing the banjo on their porch or whatever. So he started carrying a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and he recorded hundreds and hundreds of people just doing these. He was archiving all these traditional mountain songs that nobody knew what the origin was. A lot of them probably came from Ireland and came over from other countries with immigrants, and so he kept all these things and eventually donated all these reel-to-reels to the University of Missouri Springfield, and they have put them online. You can actually go into that archive and click on these songs, and it'll be Joe Fred McCoy on a certain date, Little Rock, or they went as far south as Little Rock and Hot Springs, but mostly it was northern Arkansas and southern Missouri, and just hundreds of public domain songs, and some of them just sung a cappella by like just a off-key elderly woman, or he just wanted to know what the songs were, and then he painstakingly transcribed them into compositions. So he also did the music, the sheet music for them. So
what a passion this man had,
it was
and
amazing.
A lot of time on his hands.
And so I found that, and I just started clicking through and listening to these people that are just it's like frozen in time.
It's a gold mine.
And Bad News was.
So your ears came into. You used your ears. Did you listen with her on all these different songs to pick up?
We did. We spent a bit of time listening to stuff. We found a lot of good material on that, but that one really stood out.
Yeah, it just seemed like a badass, if I can say that on the radio.
You can say that on KABS radio.
For them,
you think about authors of books doing a lot of research, but in your business, you have to do a lot of research.
Oh, yeah. Especially, I had to research the business of music, being a record company, because we had never done that. So,
you heard the Wildflowers while you were reviewing and looking for music for your film.
Yeah, well, they weren't a group yet. I met them each individually.
How did you learn about them?
The first one I met was Amy Garland Angel, who I was introduced to by Lisa Coleman, who I just by chance met, and her husband Jeff Coleman is a musician, so she introduced me to him, and he ended up doing quite a few original songs for the film. Like, he wrote them specifically for the film. And then
another brilliant
brilliant
Arkansas musician, by the way.
I mean,
Don't
he
we have a
literally
lot of
just
don't we have a
cranked
lot of
out
brilliant people in
perfect
Arkansas?
songs.
It's like the old Austin, Texas, isn't it?
Let's just take a beat on that, if you
Okay.
don't mind, because,
Sure.
you know, we spend a lot of time working in New York and LA, and as people who are working in the creative community in those places, and forgive me for saying this out loud, Arkansas is not top of mind when you think about sort of a creative hub. But our experience both on the movie and in the music community is that Arkansas, and through its history, by the way, is a hotbed of musical and other creative arts activity. It is incredible down here. How many talented people are playing out in the town every night of the
Actors.
week. People who will blow you away.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
I know now. Now I know.
I feel that way about Little Rock, Arkansas all the time.
Well, I think more and more people are figuring that out. More and more films are being shot down here, and
Yes.
I think people are starting to catch on to the talent that's in this state, all over the state. I mean, Northwest Arkansas, down at El Dorado is incredible.
Did you have a good experience
and
making your...
Little Rock, Central Arkansas, Conway. All
You
those.
didn't have any problems making a film here as far
None.
as far as state
We thought
rules or laws?
Oh no, the film commission and all was very helpful when we made the film, and you know, they're. I think they've. I may not be updated on this, but they did lower or do away with the film incentives, at least temporarily. But I think they may have those back, which definitely helps bring filming in. They were in place when we made our films, so.
So I want to hear some more music, but before we do, let's remind everybody why you're in town. Tell us why you're in town.
Kris.
Well, we have the distinct privilege of premiering the Wildflowers record release tomorrow night at the Dreamland Ballroom. And we are so excited to be in that venue, in a venue with such a storied history. I mean, the fact that, you know, Amy, Mandy, and Bonnie are going to stand on that stage, you know, a stage that's hosted Ray Charles, Louis Jordan, Duke Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald, and on, that they will get on the back of that musical line and stand on the shoulders of those giants and go out and play on that stage is going to be a beautiful experience, and we could not have found a better place to do this. And just to be able to really say to everybody in the community here, these three women have arrived. They made a great record. They're a great live band. They have incredible musicians, and we are going to rock the house tomorrow night.
Yeah, and I just want to add that it's celebrating the release of the debut record, but it is also a benefit for Dreamland Ballroom, which is undergoing amazing renovations to try to hang on to and bring back this like piece of magical history. And we're so happy to be involved in that. And we didn't even, you know, realize the history of it when we saw photos of it. And Kris is the one who just became dead set on that being the place that this release party was going to be, because he didn't want just the typical music venue. And
Well, it won't be typical, and Dreamland appreciates the fundraising that you're doing, because some of the
Well,
proceeds are going to the renovation of the Dreamland
yeah,
Ballroom.
we're so
Thank you very
happy
much.
to make.
Let's pick another
part of
song.
that.
I know the listeners are dying to hear it. Which one did we decide? Two, or did we want to jump to, or did we want to do the last song, or do we want to do the one you like, Tim?
I'll let the producers decide.
So we have one more song or two more songs?
I think we have two more
There's two more
songs.
songs.
Well, I tell you what, why don't we play a little bit of Don't Call It Country, which is, you know, the song that probably has the most commercial appeal, I think, of, well, you could
Of the
argue
original
that,
songs,
of
yeah.
the originals.
Are any of the songs, did they write any? Well,
Oh, they wrote
I'll rest.
all 10 of them. Only 3 are cover songs.
Okay.
So.
We'll talk about that when we get back. So did they write that song, or is that a remake?
Yeah, Amy and Mandy wrote it, and they wrote it kind of as a complaint or protest against the so-called country, you know, the things that are really like pop country, and it's not real country to them. And then Mandy, in one of the articles that just came out this week, I think in Arkansas Times, there was a quote from her saying, that's what we were doing, and then we ended up writing a country pop song. And when we heard it and started working on it, we said, oh, that's the radio hit. That's like the one that could be like played on all the country radio stations.
We want to walk that one around Nashville and hope someone will buy it.
Oh, wow. Tell us about that. How do you do that?
Well, we're sort of finding that out as we go. Everything about being in the music industry is something that we find out the day that it's happening.
Well, we're not going to literally walk around Nashville and try to have someone buy it. Well, for one thing, they've already got 2 songs that the record's not even been released, and we've already got 2 songs that have been licensed to be on an episode of Tyler Perry's new series that's on TLC.
Is that because of your connections?
It is because it's because of a wonderful the guy who is wonderful, who was our music supervisor on Valley Inn, and he does all of Tyler Perry's music supervisions.
So it is kind of who you know.
Are we allowed to say his name?
I'm going to say it because he deserves the credit, but I hesitate to, just because I don't want him to be inundated with calls from musicians wanting to get their unplugged you to get their music licensed. But,
okay, don't say it.
But no, I'm going to say it. It's Joel High, and he's amazing. He was like music supervisor on the movie Monsters Ball, and all of Tyler Perry's movies, other non-Tyler Perry movies, and he does all of Tyler's
I think we've got a
television stuff. And
Joel
it might be my mom calling.
Joel is brilliant.
All right, let's see who it is. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Have you got a question?
Hey, this is Mark Cooper. I just want to tell the ladies congratulations.
I will tell them if they're not listening that you said that.
Are you coming tonight, Mark?
I'm sorry?
Tomorrow night.
Are you coming tomorrow night?
I'm going to try to come tomorrow night. I have to bartend for a living, but I would love to make it down there. And Friday nights, Saturday nights are always my big gig nights. But, yeah, I definitely want to come down and check it out.
Well, you can buy a CD.
You can hear it later.
I know these ladies and their awesome talents, and it's just really exciting to hear this project come to its entity. And I applaud all you guys for your work. And Kerry,
Thank you.
I appreciate you putting this on air.
You're welcome. Thanks, Mark Cooper. We'll tell him you called with a shout out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So it is almost a sellout tomorrow night, isn't it? Isn't it sold out?
Well, it's on Eventbrite. I think last time I checked, there were 23 out of 250 tickets left.
But,
so
it's on Eventbrite.
But I know that people are coming to buy them at the door, so really it is technically sold out already.
I don't think there'll be any by tomorrow night.
There might be some. I don't want to discourage someone from coming to see, but we have to stick within the max capacity of the building, obviously.
If they can't come, like Mark can't because he's probably working, they can get the CD.
Yes,
and
starting tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow.
It's being released tomorrow. It'll be available at cdbaby.com/CD/the Wildflower Revue. That's our exact website. And you can buy either a physical CD or a download of it starting tomorrow, the release date. And then it takes about a week to 2 weeks after it's on CD Baby for it to be on iTunes, and it'll be available on Amazon, and
so after a week, you can get it
on.
Oh, sure. So after a week, you can get it on iTunes.
A week to 2 weeks. iTunes has their own process that sometimes can take. The most would be 2 weeks.
Well, talk to me about the business of getting it on CD Baby and iTunes and Amazon. Is that a big deal?
It's not anymore, which is why I was able to walk into the bathroom and say to Kris, we're record producers now, because websites like, first we go to discmakers.com, and everything's done digitally. You upload the music, they do their quality check, you upload all the information, then you upload the artwork, which I want to give a shout out to Isaac Alexander, who's also a musician who's going to be singing in our created choir tomorrow night on a couple of the songs. But Isaac is also an amazing graphic designer, and he designed the CD artwork. So
And he's from Arkansas.
and he's from Little Rock, and you upload the artwork, and you're able to talk on the phone with them constantly. They're all these websites. That just happens to be the one I used for our soundtrack and for this.
So you upload your music
You
onto
do it all remote,
digitally.
like you don't have to be at a manufacturing facility, and you do it all online,
and then they send it to you.
One-
and then they mail you the
Yeah,
CD.
they send you. Then you order your CDs. They get them done very quickly. So we have we gave you one of the CDs, and then you can choose to distribute through their partner CD Baby, and I chose that rather than trying to get it on all those individual things myself.
So they distribute it for you.
They do
that's
all
why
the
it
work
takes a
that
week.
you only have to do the registration with CD Baby and then they send it on to all the partners, which are iTunes, Amazon.
And then they get a percentage, I guess, of everything that sells.
Yeah, well, and it's not that much. So
So anybody can get published.
yeah,
I
well,
guess.
it's serious do-it-yourself DIY. They even there's like a big DIY distribution conference or musician conference in Nashville every year in August, and I'm going to go to that just to learn more about the
Because you don't do
distribution.
enough.
Yeah.
So let me tell
because
her.
I don't have enough on my to-do
Her
list.
husband's laughing. Chris is laughing.
You should see her to-do list. It's truly frightening.
So, what about the Wildflowers? So, I know you met each of these girls individually. How did you figure out they all sang together? And what about their singing did you fall in love with?
Well, they've known each other for a while and have been friends, but it's Kim's movie that really brought them together as a musical unit, as a trio. And the amazing thing about the three of them, if you take each woman individually, in Amy Garland Angel, you have somebody with a very earthy, bluesy, rootsy tone, and she's got kind of a bottom end to her vocals that she's incredibly soulful, right?
Yeah, and like that good Bonnie Raitt kind of raspy voice.
She's got that earthiness. And then you have Bonnie Montgomery, who has an incredible range. Bonnie is a trained opera singer. She's written an opera about the early life of Bill Clinton that's playing around right now. And so her vocal abilities are world class. And then you have Mandy, who's got this really beautiful kind of mid-range and has a very sort of longing, kind of melancholy quality to her vocals. And you put these three different voices together, and something absolutely beautiful happens with that alchemy.
Yeah, and Mandy's just got that pure, like an Emmylou Harris kind of purity to her voice. So
I think of her as innocent.
yeah,
I don't know why.
a purity. Yeah,
Yeah.
like she's just sweet as anything.
I know,
And
she
she's
really
just
is.
like-
She sings
they
like
all
that.
are.
Yeah. So, did they decide to be the Wildflower because of you, or did they decide?
Well, they decided to take it to a level that was beyond just hanging out on one of their porches and playing and
Being an Arkansan?
drinking beer.
A real Arkansan?
Yeah, well, yeah, and they decided to take it to like a professional level.
They decided,
after
or
the-
you decided?
Well, we encouraged.
Yeah,
and
we started right away. Well, I started trying to talk Kris into, that's when he was saying, I'm not a record producer. But I kept telling them, I want Kris to produce a record for you. And so they got kind of serious about it, and they were starting to write some songs together. And then, they were calling themselves the Wildflowers, which is what they were going to be called. But when we started recording and I wanted to do a Facebook page for them, that's when we found out that there's a fairly successful UK band called the Wildflowers, so we had to change it to the Wildflower Revue, which we like anyway. So yeah, they just they got a big show at Ron Robinson and sold it out, and they weren't even really kind of it was their real official thing as a group. They were still
It was
calling themselves the
encouraging and
Wildflowers.
validated kind of who they were.
Yeah.
What, Kris? He's about
Yeah.
to say something.
Well, the thing is, the origin story of the whole thing is kind of interesting too, and very Arkansan. I mean, we started out going to visit them at Amy's cabin, which is by the Red River, in the middle of rural Arkansas.
Well, when we knew we were doing the record, we had a writing retreat for 5 days at the Little Red
And
River.
we literally
River.
sat around the fireplace while they kind of worked on their songs.
And the outdoor fire, like the fire pit. It was like, it
And,
was awesome.
you know, watch them kind of bring the beginnings of these songs together. And then we sort of started to chime in, well, what about this for this song? What about that for that one? And we sort of became a melded unit, really kind of around the fireplace. And, you know, the way I like to think of it is that they sort of took the music from music they could stand around and play in their bare feet to now music that they probably have to wear shoes to actually go play.
They'll build boots.
That's a very Arkansan way of putting
They're going to wear boots. They're not going to wear. I
Yeah.
know all those girls. They all wear cowboy boots.
Butt-kicking boots.
So you guys are, well, let's play another song and then we'll come back and talk about what y'all's business side of it is.
Well, why don't we play one of the covers? Because the thing that they do really well is that they can take something unexpected from somebody else and make it their own. And as a former punk rock guy, I really wanted them to do a punk cover. And this is a song that they have always wanted to sing.
Yeah, that's a different spin. So right then you heard Bonnie, our trained opera singer, singing in.
French, yeah.
I was Bonnie's very, very amateurish French coach for that vocal session.
You speak. Oh yeah, that's right. You have a degree in French, don't you?
Well, from a million years ago.
I
But,
didn't put that in your bio when I read.
I wrote the French part out phonetically on paper for her, and she got it exactly right.
Well, to do opera, and she's a trained opera singer, you have to know German, French, and Italian, don't you? Isn't that correct?
You at least have to know how to pronounce those
Yeah, you
languages.
have to be able to read it phonetically, I guess.
Oh, okay. So, did you helped with their names? We've talked about that. What do you think, Kris? You said something earlier about. I said to you, "Do you think you're going to be a record producer and do this again?" And you said,
Well, I tell you what, if I could do that for a living, that's all I would want to do from here on out. I always wanted to be in the band, and I'm never going to be in the band. But this is as close as I can get, because I'm standing in the middle of, say, the Wildflower Revue, and they do something, and I go, oh, okay, well, that's good. Well, should we do another one? And at that moment, I realize, wow, I'm in the middle of this. You know, It's the most beautiful feeling in the world, especially when you're working with people who are talented and passionate and who care about what they're doing. Because they had all the integrity. I just had the encouragement.
so being a film producer, I was going to come back and talk to you about exactly what your role is. You have to do a lot of research to help pick out songs. You have to be a coach, you said, a confidence coach during the recording. Sounds like you have to speak a little French. No, I'm just kidding. And then, since you have experience in marketing, do the producers usually go on to the marketing side of it also? Is that what you're going to do?
No, but we're acting as a label as well. So that's what the label would do. But, sans a bona fide label, we're doing
We might as
that
well do that as well. Yeah.
What'd you say is a bona fide label? What'd you say the
I
label?
said sans without, like in lieu of having signed with, Universal Recording, this machine is
Is that the
acting
label?
as the label.
That is the label.
It
That's
is
a Woody
now.
Guthrie reference. Right?
Yes,
Well done.
absolutely.
You
I
get
can't
10
believe
points
it.
for that one.
Yeah, nobody would get that. What's the reference?
On his guitar, he would write.
This machine kills fascists.
That's right.
Meaning music, can overcome, the worst.
Oh, boy, yeah, you need to explain that, because it was on my list of questions to ask you. What does the
Very
name,
good,
This
Tim.
Machine Kills Fascists? Now I get it. So it's This Machine Inc., because you're going against the man.
Yeah. Well, even though the ink kind of belies.
There's a little irony in
There
the
is a
ink
little
part.
irony, but
yeah, going against the
hopefully
man-
the art we create will,
Yeah, you're
be-
incorporated with the man, but so you said something about you have a creative choir tomorrow night? What does that
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, Amy and the girls have put together, well, I think it was Kris's idea originally, that there's a couple of songs that are have a gospel feel to them. Ain't No Grave and With Grace. And I'm not sure, there may be some other songs that the choir is going to sing with, but Kris, wanted like a big gospel, or not big, but a gospel choir to back them up, and, really like fill out those songs. And Amy has pulled together, and I'm sorry, Mandy
Charlotte's
and Bonnie,
one of
if
them.
you also were involved.
I
but,
know Charlotte's in the choir.
yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. I have the list. I can
She's
call
got
it up. But
then your friend
Amy
you
pulled
said.
together. Isaac Alexander is doing it. Brad and I think it's Brad
Well, how
and
many people are gonna
Amy
be on the
Williams.
stage?
Brad of the Salty Dogs. I mean, it is an all-star show tomorrow night of Little Rock talent. Because I mean, the fact that Brad Williams and Isaac Alexander and these other, amazing artists in their own right are willing to be the backup choir because they love Amy and Mandy and Bonnie so much. And we'll have pretty much the entire Salty Dog, I guess we do, the entire band of the Salty Dogs there. Nick Devlin plays, the guitar for the Wildflower Revue, and
Isn't that
Brad's
nice?
singing, and
It's such a
it's
loving
amazing.
community.
Oh, I just can't get over how amazing everyone is, and everyone, because you can't just wear one creative hat, I guess, and make a living. So Isaac has his own career. He's going to sing with them, and then he's a graphic artist who did our CD cover artwork beautifully, and everyone wears several creative hats.
What's next for you? This is a big deal. You're going to go sell the CD down in Nashville. And Kris is going to walk
knocking doors.
Kris is going to walk door to door, and then
And the rest is just all cash. Cash.
And then what is next?
We're just
for
going to
y'all?
rake in the millions. Then.
You said something about this has been one of your most favorite creative jobs you've ever had. What are you going to do next?
Well, we'd like to do more music.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure out what to do with that.
Yeah, it would.
But Arkansas seems like a good place to start.
We need at least one assistant before we do the next one, because it has just been a 2-person show on the business end of it. So.
Are you thinking about hiring somebody?
Oh, well, we'd have to hire someone, at least freelance or part-time, to get through. We need to anyway. I mean,
Do you work out of your home?
We're still doing television all the time, and we really need an assistant anyway.
What are you working on now for
we
TV?
work out of our home. Kris can tell what he's working on right now. It's exciting.
I'm working as a consultant for Nat Geo,
For what?
the National Geographic Channel.
Oh, I saw that you did some work.
Yeah,
for
I've been
them.
down in DC doing some work for them. They are getting into the scripted drama content business, and they're doing a beautiful show with Ron Howard and Imagine Entertainment with Jeffrey Rush as Albert Einstein, and it is a beautiful piece of work. So I'm helping them with that. And
He's overseeing that. He always undersells himself. He's
They
overseeing all of the marketing and promotion of that.
having been through the HBO experience and kind of seen, when a network really comes into its own, and now I'm shilling for Nat Geo, but I tell you, they are a network on the verge.
They're worth shilling
they're
for.
an incredible
of
network.
all the networks.
Brilliant people, and I'm really lucky to be involved. So that's what I'm doing on the commerce side of things, because one thing we did not mention is that music is a vow of poverty.
Right now, anyway.
If you're a musician or if you're a producer of music, for all but the very few, it is a vow of poverty, so you better love it.
But if you hit it big, you hit it big.
That's right.
And yeah, we're going to go for that. Go for the big, or at least the medium.
So what are you going to do, Kim?
Well, I work with Kris on, I basically production coordinate and production manage and
Yeah.
script
She's the
edits
brains behind
and
the operation. That's what's
take
going
care
on.
of, I don't do so much producing in television myself anymore. I did it freelance for so many years, and when you're freelance, you work way more days and hours than someone who's on staff at a network, because you just, as a freelancer, you get that disease where you can't say no because you think then you'll never get another call, so you way overbook yourself. And I really wore myself out doing it, with a lot of productions with Sesame Workshop where I'd have 44-year-old kids that I was directing, and just things that like really through 20 years of doing it just wore me out. So I'm really just
So you work out of your
working with
home.
Chris in this machine.
So you work out of your home. And if you
In
did
New York.
and if you did hire somebody, you would they work out of their home, or would they have to come to your house and work in your home?
No, they would not need to work in our home. Everything can be done so remotely
Yeah.
now. Yeah,
And just
no,
do it
so-
by the job.
Yeah, it'd be, I mean, I think an assistant would be the first thing, and like you said with Flag and Banner, a bookkeeper. We've got to get, we have obviously our own bookkeeper, but we're going to have to get someone specifically on for this
That's
machine.
a waste of a talented person's time.
What is?
Bookkeeping. You need to have a bookkeeper. That is
Oh, you mean a waste of my time?
Yes,
Okay.
it is absolutely a
Well,
waste of your time.
I wouldn't even be able to waste my time doing it because I'm just not that, I don't have that kind of head.
Do you recommend your career to other people? I don't know a lot of
I would.
producers out there. Do you recommend your career? We have some.
Yeah, I've had fun for a long time, and so has Chris. It's hard work. It's harder than you think.
It's harder. It is hard work. It's a difficult club to get into, especially the
Yeah.
film and television side of it. It's sort of like a velvet rope situation. Once you're inside, it's fantastic. But the amazing thing about, say, working in television marketing is that you're sitting there with a show like The Sopranos, right? Nobody knows about it. The name doesn't mean anything to them. And you're charged with this job of you are the person, or you're part of the group that is going to introduce this thing to the world. And you have this tremendous opportunity in front of you. You know the thing is incredible. Now it's up to you to do something about it. So you get to sort of hit launch on something that is going to go right round the world. And, that is a real thrill. So when you get in tight with these kinds of incredible projects where amazing people are doing their best work and you get to kind of bring that out, it is an incredibly rewarding experience.
Yeah, and these shows and producers know the value of the marketing and promotion. So, if you're working in marketing and promotion, you get to be intimately involved with the shows. Chris has shot with the cast of, he's directed the cast of Game of Thrones and Sopranos and all of those people in promos and trailers and things that were not just being cut from the show. And so
Do you have
he's
to move to
been
New
involved
York?
with all those people.
You can't be a producer here, or do you have to move to New York? Because both of y'all met. Did y'all meet in New York?
Well,
Yeah.
you probably have to be in one of the
We met
bigger
at
television
HBO.
markets if you want to work on a thing like that. But there's a lot of great local stuff going on now.
Sounds like it.
Chris used a lot of Barry Pointer. Barry Pointer who
yeah.
engineered our record. He's amazing at Pointer recording. But when Chris was at HBO for 10 years, he would, if they needed original music, he'd call Barry up, tell him the feel he wanted, and Barry would compose something. And
Yeah,
so a lot of Barry's music was on HBO.
Was on the HBO, a lot of the HBO theme stuff. Barry Pointer is a state treasure.
Yeah.
Like everybody in Arkansas and elsewhere should know about this guy.
Well, everyone in music in
Well, tell
Arkansas
everybody
does
who-
know about him.
Okay, Barry Pointer is a musician himself. He has a long musical history in the state, and he is a recording engineer and a mixer, and
Producer.
and he is a brilliant artist who brings the best out in people. And we have this gorgeous sounding record that sounds just right, and it sounds just right because Barry is brilliant.
Barry
and
has dog
exacting.
ears, as Chris.
And I'd call him dog ears. He'd go, "Did you hear that? She was flat." And I'd go,
Sounded
"I
good
hear
to me."
Nothing. Sounded great to me.
But he'd
let's-
say, "No, got to do it again," and
And I
the
hear we've got
record's
a
pristine.
we've got a film producer who I think's got a movie that was at the Golden Globe. That racial movie. What?
What, Moonlight?
Oh, Loving.
Loving.
Oh, Loving.
Yeah.
That's
Loving.
right.
Isn't that that's an Arkansas movie?
Yeah, I don't know if it was shot in Arkansas, but it's
It's
and
an
now I'm
Arkansas
going to
producer.
blank.
It's
Jeff,
an Arkansas producer.
he did Mud, and Jeff
Yeah, he did.
Oh my
mine.
gosh, I can't believe I'm Nichols, Jeff Nichols.
Jeff Nichols.
Yes,
Good
very
job.
successful. Well, he's famous now. So
Well, he's from Arkansas also.
yeah.
And I think he did. I wonder if
he did
started
Mud in Arkansas.
Yeah.
And with
How's
Matthew
your film?
McConaughey.
How's your film doing?
It's doing well. It went. We didn't do a theatrical release. It's a very low budget independent film, but it's Walmart bought it. It's,
Oh, good.
I mean, there's lots of It really for a low budget independent film, it's doing quite well.
Well,
so.
you started this CD that's being released tomorrow. You started it in 2015, and it's 2016. Did it take all year? We've got 3 minutes left. Did it take all year to put the CD together? It was really 2017, but you started the film.
We started working on
the
it.
CD
We started working on this record in the summertime
of 2015.
of
No,
2016.
2016. I made a typo
Oh, so it didn't
in
take
the
very
spring
long.
of 2016.
And we came down to Arkansas every weekend and worked on it.
Y'all
pretty
were
much.
obsessed, so y'all just worked obsessively about it.
We took over Barry Pointer's life.
Yeah.
His wife never saw him for the entire summer.
You want to
Well,
give a nice
well-
shout out to her?
Yeah,
Yes,
Robin.
Robin,
Thank you, Robin.
Robin Pointer gets a gold star for just putting up with
Well, it was
this
just
bunch of
weekends
hooligans
we
that showed up
worked
every
with. We
weekend.
took over Barry on the weekends, which is when she would have seen him.
So Kris and Kim, y'all have birthed a new CD. You're now record producers, and you own your own company. Here's a cigar for birthday.
Oh, we got a cigar.
Fantastic.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That came from the Humidor Room at Colonial Wine and Spirits on Markham Street in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm so glad to meet y'all. Really, y'all are an amazing couple.
Oh,
I'm really looking
you.
forward
Thank you
to
very
tomorrow
much.
night. We've got a few tickets left. Not very many.
Not very many
They
on-
need to go on Eventbrite right now if they want to buy some.
I think there's maybe 20 on Eventbrite.
And they can come buy the CDs tomorrow night at Dreamland. Tim, you'll be selling them at the door, right? Even if they can't get in, they can
Well,
come
that's
and
true.
buy them
Yeah,
at the
we
door.
can have a
I
big
can do
box
that,
of
yeah.
them at the door, and
So
you
if you-
can get them
Yeah,
hot
so-
off the presses.
Boy,
So-
yeah. So you can get, and also they will be available on cdbaby.com tomorrow, starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
And today you got to hear a little bit of the music. Thank you very much for sharing that with the listeners.
Thank you.
Again, my guests today were record producers Kim Swink and her husband Chris Spencer. If you'd like a copy of the Wildflower Revue CD, it will be available tomorrow. My guest next week is Rich Cosgrove, owner of Whole Hog Cafe. I hope he'll bring us some. We'll be talking barbecue and business, two of my favorite things. Add blues in there and we'd be done. Barbecue, business, and blues. Also, if you have a great entrepreneur story and you would like to share it, I would love to hear from you. Send a brief bio and your contact info to,
questions@upyourbusiness.org.
and someone will be in touch. And finally, to our listeners, thank you for spending time with me. If you think this program's been about you, you're right, but it's also about me. Thank you for letting me fulfill my destiny. My hope today is that you've heard or learned something that's been inspiring or enlightening, and that it, whatever it is, will help you up your business, your independence, or your life. I'm Kerry McCoy, and I'll see you next Friday at 2 p.m. on KABF Radio in Little Rock, Arkansas. Until then, be brave and keep it up.
You've been listening to Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy, a production of flagandbanner.com. If you miss any part of the show or want to learn more about UIYB, go to flagandbanner.com and click on Radio Show. Like us on Facebook or subscribe to her weekly podcast wherever you like to listen. All interviews are recorded and posted the following week with links to resources you heard discussed on today's show. Underwriting opportunities available upon request. Kerry's goal is to help you live the American dream.